out of your life? If I ask you what success is, what would you say? If I ask a friend of yours, the answer will probably be different, isn't it? Success means different things to different people. The definition we are going to use is a definition that will work for all of us. Success is getting what you want. What is different from happiness? Happiness is wanting what you got. For you to be happy, you don't need anything else. Just accept what you have. This doesn't stop you from continuing to aim for other things in life. Unfortunately, people confuse success with happiness. I don't know how to teach you to be happy. Now, success, yes, is a science. In the same way that you learn physics, that you learn chemistry, you can learn to succeed. Imagine that I put there, where you are watching this video, a board 40 centimeters wide and 10 meters long, and I put it on the floor, and asked you to walk on that board, from one side to the other. Could you? Probably yes, no problem at all, walking from one side to the other. Now, I would take this board and I would place this board between the two tallest buildings in New York, 108 stories. And now I would ask you to cross this board from one side to the other. You would do? Probably not. But physically you can do it. You didn't do it there. Wouldn't you walk on the ground? What happens? Immediately the so-called self-talk will appear in your brain. Look, you're going to slip. Look, you're going to fall. Look, it's going to be windy. In fact, you never stop doing anything in your life because your chest hurt, or because your arm hurt, or because your leg hurt. You stop doing something in life because something happened here inside your brain. In fact, do you know how they train the elephant? They take a rope, tie it to the elephant, tie it to a tree. He tries to leave, fails. Tries to leave, fails. Tries to leave, fails. He gives up. Hide it here, baby. Then he grows up, thinking he's tied to a tree. When he is already an adult, the clown ties a rope to him, ties it to the leg of the stool, the chair there. He still thinks he is tied to a tree. We can do the same thing with fleas. You put the flea in a jar, close the jar. The flea does not like to be inside the jar. She jumps back, jumps back. She bangs on the lid of the jar until it starts to bruise. She starts to jump a little lower. After she's doing that, you go over there and take the lid off the jug. She never jumps out of the jug again. Can you believe it? Experiment at home. No need to experiment at home. Just look in the mirror. How many things did you encode in childhood that you continue to carry with you? So we have to go back there and restructure this child. And how is it structured? Neurophysiologically.
Fisiologicamente.
So, at the base of your brain, you have a structure called ascending activating reticular substance, which is fueled by the exergonic balance of cellular biochemistry. I'm talking hard. What is it? It means that if I raise my hand, I release more energy than it takes to raise my hand. Part of that energy goes through the nervous system and activates this substance that activates the brain. So your brain stays awake thanks to the ascending activating reticular substance. The second function of the ascending activating reticular substance is to function as an executive secretary for your brain. Your brain cannot pay attention to more than 5-9 things at a time. You weren't paying attention to the big toe of your right foot until I told you, nor the tip of your nose, nor the lobe of your left ear, and so on. Because you can't pay attention to all this. What I'm talking about, the temperature in the room, oops, wait a minute, there has to be a priority. And the reticular substance, ascending activator, establishes this priority. Who sets it up for her? The brain. The brain says, look, this is important. I want to see it. This is not important. I don't want to see it. So your beliefs were encoded and the brain tells the reticular substance. That's it. So imagine a 12-year-old girl being sexually abused. She comes to the following conclusion. Man sucks. Her brain tells the reticular substance. So if you find a man who sucks, I want to know. When you find a man who sucks, I don't want to see it. And from then on, what will she find in life? Men who suck. So with that, it perpetuates itself. And then you start to have your experience according to your beliefs. according to your self-esteem. Do you understand how it works? If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing your self-esteem. We're going to work on it here. How do you improve your self-image? What do you need to do to change that self-image? What do you need to do to modify this ascending activating reticular substance window? And consequently change your perception? By changing your perception, you change your reality. Because things are simple. We are linguistic animals. Language differentiates us from other beings and makes us human. We have two types of language. We have a language that generates action and a language that does not generate action. If I tell you the temperature in this room is hot, has anything changed in the universe? Absolutely nothing. Temperature remains the same, isn't it? They are the language that does not generate action. Now, if you were here and I said to you, please hold this pen, and you did, the pen would have passed from my hand to yours. What happened? An action has taken place. This request language generated an action. Do you want to see another language that generates action? Declaration. If you go before a judge, man and woman, and the judge says, I now pronounce you husband and wife, and 5 seconds after he's finished saying that, you raise your hand and say, I'm a judge, I don't want to get married. More. Do you know what he's going to say to you? Now it's too late. You now have to get divorced. Because I have already declared, I have already created a legal reality in your life, through a declaration. So let's look at this more carefully. Imagine if instead of the judge you were your neighbor who is a banker and asked him to marry you. Do you think it would be valid? Of course. He doesn't have autonomy. He doesn't have the authority to declare husband and wife, right? So for you to have a statement, you have to have authority. Second, it has to happen in the here and now. The judge does not say, I declare that you will be husband and wife. The judge says, I declare that you are. And third, it has to be positive. The judge does not declare, I declare that you are no longer single. This is not a statement. The statement is in the positive, it's in the here and now, and someone who has authority. Now I ask you, who has more authority over you? You. When you were 5 years old, no. Your father, your mother, your older brothers, whoever. But today, nobody has more authority over you than you do. So you have the possibility to recreate yourself linguistically. This is the truth. And how do you recreate yourself linguistically? Declaring, I declare that I am smart. Be, do, have. People think it's the other way around. If I had intelligence. No. I declare to be smart. I start to do what smart people do. I start to have intelligence. I declare to be prosperous. I start to do what prosperous people do. I start to have prosperity. That's why being comes before having. Because if you have having without being, it doesn't belong to you. I declare to be the creative force in my life. It means that whatever good I do and whatever bad I do, I am responsible. I declare to be healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I declare to be sincere with myself. I declare to be free. It means I am free, you are free. I have the right to think what I want, you have the right to think what you want. So as you do that, you change the cybernetics of your brain. Your brain works cybernetically. Cybernetics is the discipline that studies autonomous systems. If I put an air conditioner in a room and put a thermostat on the air conditioner in that room and set a temperature of 21 degrees Celsius, I put intelligence in a machine. Do you know why? The air conditioning in this room will turn on and off regardless of my physical presence. I knew that, regardless of my physical presence. Because now it's going to use the temperature of the room as feedback. We also have our thermostats. You have a thermostat for money. It's like I wrote in invisible handwriting on your forehead how much you're worth a year. That's what you're getting. You have a thermostat for health, you have a thermostat for relationships, and you can change that thermostat through language and through visualization. If you can visualize and you can visualize clearly, if you can visualize in color, that has a huge impact on that thermostat. Let me tell you a story about the thermostat. There once was an individual who was a realtor, the best realtor you could find. He only made $30,000 a year. In the United States, that's not much. One day he was hypnotized. During the hypnotic session, it was discovered that when he was 7 years old, his father had died and the company his father worked for had held a ceremony and had invited him and his mother, and there had been a speech about how honest, hard-working, dedicated his father had been, etc., 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 and the mother was given an envelope that was the father's life insurance, and she opened the envelope, took out the check, $30,000, and he, at the age of 7, he looked and concluded, an honest, hard-working, dedicated individual, worth $30,000 a year, he concluded. Brought back from the hypnotic session and worked with this technology that I'm working with you here now in this video. This individual the following week doubled what he earned, the following week he tripled, the following week he quadrupled. A year later, he was making $1 million a year, doing what he always knew how to do, getting up the same time he always got up, going to bed the same time he always went to bed. Do you know what changed? His thermostat. That's the difference. That makes the difference. It's that thermostat change. That's what's important. This change, this is what we are doing here. William James, who is considered the father of modern psychology, he was a philosopher, a psychologist, professor at Harvard University. He has a famous phrase which is the following: the bird does not sing because it is happy happy because it sings. Because it was once asked drive. James, drive. James, in your opinion, what was the most important discovery in the field of human development in the last 100 years? He said, in my opinion, it was that before it was thought that for you to do it you had to feel it first. Now we know that the opposite is also true. You start to act and the feeling appears. So don't wait for the feeling to show up for you to start executing. It starts to run that your thermostat is going to change. You start changing it and the thermostat changes.